Hello guys, welcome back. Today we are going to understand the question that we have 649, and this question is regarding Dota 2 CNET, right? So let's understand this question. Let's read this question. So the question is saying that in the world of Dota 2 there are two parties, the Radiant and the Dire. So the Dota 2 CNET consists of senators coming from two parties. Now the Senate want to decide on a change in the Dota 2 game. So the voting for this change is a round based procedure. Okay, so in each round each senator can exercise one of the two rights, right? The first is ban one senator's right, and another announce the victory, right? So for the ban one senator rights, a senator can make another senators lose all his rights in these, and all of them they will fall around, right? And similarly, for the announce the victory, if the senator found the senators, right, who still have rights to vote, right, are all from the same party, right? So he can announce the victory and decide on the change in the game. Now we have given a string Senate, and representing is Senate's party belonging, that is two character R and D representing the Radiant party and Dire party. If there are n senators, the size of the given string will be n. Okay, now it is saying that the round based procedure start from the first senator to the last senator in the given order. The procedure will last until the end of voting. So if all the senators who have lost their rights will be skipped during the procedure, right? Who have lost their right will be skipped during the procedure. So now now we have to suppose every senator is smart enough and will play the best strategy for his own party. The party will finally announce the victory and change the Dota 2 game. The output will be Radiant or Dire, right? So in this case we have given the Senate, right? In the example we have given Senate is R and D, right? So when R is coming means who is coming? Radiant is coming, right? So when the Radiant is coming, so as you can see, he can ban Senate's rights or he can announce the victory, right? So here in the case when he is coming first, right, to vote, right, what happened? He will announce the victory and decide to change the game to not to continue, right? Okay, so he will win, right? So the first senator comes from the Radiant and he can just ban the next senators, right, in the round 1, and in the round 2 we don't have, right? So in the second senators cannot exercise any rights anymore. So so what will happen? His rights will be banned, right? And in the round 2 the first senator can just announce the victory, since he is the only guy in the Senate who can vote, right? You got it, right? Next we will understand the similarly in example 2, in which we will see the Senate, right? We have given R D D, right? So when the first senator came, right, from the Radiant, he can just ban the next senator, right, this one, and he will say in the round 1 that the second one cannot come, right? The second senator, that D, he cannot exercise any rights anymore, and since his rights has been banned, so when the third senator comes from the Dire, right, as you can see here, he can ban the first senator because we don't have next one, right? So he can ban the first round senator. He has been banned by this, right? Now previously vote we have, so he has cancelled this vote, and because he can change the game, right? And in the round 2 what will happen? This donator, right, what will happen? The third round he can just announce himself as a victory, that I have won. Previously vote he has cancelled for both, okay, his party and another party both also. So this is the way we have to change the game, and he can win either senator or Radiant, right? So this is a very good example, right? So we have to understand how to implement this one, right? So we'll use a single queue approach, right, in which what we will do, first we will count the number of senators in each party, and we can say Radiant count and Radiant count, right? Both will R count or D count, we can say. Initially the floating band count of each party is 0, right? And we can say that floating band and defloating band, right? We can say that. Now we will create a queue of senator and with the same order as same as senate, right? So while both party have at least one eligible senators, to do the following: first we will pop the next senator from the queue. If the senator is eligible into the board, then the float the band on the opponent party and push into the queue to the back of the queue, you can say. So what will happen if the senator is not in the vote, right? He can decrement the floating band, or either he can decrement the count of the party, right? And finally what will happen, he will return the party which has at least one eligible senators, right? So how we'll do the implementation, we'll see here. Just let's understand how to do that. So let's go to here. So let's understand this code, how to implement this, right? So first of all, this class we have given and this method is given. So in this what we have given string senate, right? And from the senate, right, what we will do, we'll get we'll create two things. The first how we will find the number of senator, right, for each party. To do that, R count and D count we have to find, we have to take, and we will find out this one, right? We will create two variables more, D floating band and R floating band, right, to find the floating band count. And we will create one queue, and this queue will contain all the senators, right? So first of all, how we'll initialize this one, right? So first of all, we'll get one by one. If we'll do because this is a string, from the string we'll get a character array. To do that, we'll say 2char array, and we'll get character arrays, right? So from the character, one by one character will get on the here, and we'll add on to the queue, right? So now we have what R and D will we have, right? So if there is R, right, we'll increment the R count, okay? If not, then we'll increment D count, right? If this is R, we increment R count. If not, we'll increment D counts. So see, till now it's very easy. You don't have to do worry. R count we have to increment, D count we have to increment. For that we have to check onto the given senate, right? From the given senate you will get a 2char array, and we'll check if the character is R count will increment, otherwise D count will increment. Now understand here, right? So first of all, what we will do here, we have given if while loop, we will check if R count is greater than 0, right, and D count is greater than, both should be greater, means while any party has eligible senators or not. To do that, we will do the while loop, right? And to do that, first of all, from the queue we have already added R and D, right? We have already added it. As you can see, R and D we have already adding here onto the each senators. We will add onto the queue, right? To do from there, we will poll at a time one we will poll. What we are doing actually, let's suppose for the first example, if senator we have R and D, just for example R and D. So on the queue we will have R and D, okay? So first, when we will remove the queue.poll, that what will happen, we will have our R and D. So first R will come, so current character will be R, right? So we will check if this current character is R and D. So if he will find D, or if not, right, if he is finding R, right? So if this is R, if this is D, it will go into here. If this is D, R, it will come here, just for example, okay? So let's suppose if there is D, then what will happen, floating point we will check if it is greater than 0, then we will do minus of the floating point, or will decrement D count. Else if it is not greater than 0, then what will happen, we'll do what, plus, and we'll add onto the queue as a D. Now next time, if this is, let's suppose if this is not the case, when current item is not D, right, means there is R, okay? So when it is R, we'll check D floating is greater than 0, then we will decrement from the floating band and R count. If not, right, if not, then what we should do, we will increment our D floating band, okay? We will increment our D floating band and we'll add on to the queue as a R, right? And finally, in the simple way, we will check if R count is greater than 0, it is radiant, or else dia, okay? So let's zoom out and we'll do little hands-on to understand this one, okay? So first of all, you know that what we have to do, we will create the counts, right? Counts variables will take, and we'll create on queue and we'll add on to the queue, right? We'll check the will increment r count and d count based on the given character on the CNET, right? Now what we will do, we will have r count and d count will have, right? So we'll check if both are greater than 0, then what will happen, one by one character will get from the queue from as a CNET, right? CNET one by one CNET will pop from each turn, right? Each turn from current character will check this one, right? If current character is D, right? So he will obviously he will do what, he will not going to this way, right? So if the current character is D, then what will happen, he will check if floating point greater than 0, he will do the in decrement. If not, then he will increment and add onto the queue. Similarly, he will do what, he will check the floating band, right? He will check the floating band. If floating band is greater than the 0, then we'll add will do minus minus, or else what he will do, he will do plus plus and he will add on to the queue. Okay, so that's all we have, right? Now understand what is going on actually, right? So to understand, let's suppose we are going to pass here two things, R and D in the CNET, right? So what will happen actually here, from the queue, right? What we'll doing actually, we'll create we are doing a CNET.toChar array. It means we are going to make an array and we'll have R and D as a value, right? Next time what will happen, it will check if R is equal to C equal to R, will increment R count or D count, right? Why we are incrementing? Let's suppose if there is 2R, let's suppose if there is already 2R, okay, R. So what happened, now you can see for the R count it is 2 time, right? R is 2 time, okay. So 2R is here and D is what, D is here like this, okay. So what happened, only one D we have actually, as you can see. Now what will happen when it will come to here in this loop, right? So what will happen, he will check current equal to D. If he will find R D D onto the CNET, right? So if he is finding in this case, right? So in this case he will not go to this loop, right? He will go to the below loop here. He will go to this below loop, right? In this case what will happen, we will check if floating point is greater than this 0. So this is not greater than 0, then we'll do D floating point. So D floating point variable will increment plus plus, right? So this will become, let's suppose 0 as of now, okay, and we'll add on to the queue. So now R is already added onto the queue, right? So next time when this loop is coming, we will check what, D, right? So now we will come to here, we'll add on to the queue, and now queue will contain what, D here, as you can see, and another D we can and again we will find it is greater than 0, as you can see here, greater than 0. So what will happen, so the floating floating point is already greater than 0, right? Sorry, for this one D floating point is already greater than 0. So what he will do, he'll do minus minus, and he is going to decrement the D count, right? And he will not go to here for this example, as for example, right? So once this is minus minus, as you can see, he's going to minus minus, he will do, right? So finally what will happen, you will have our R count you have, right? If R count is coming greater than 0, so we will get our radian, otherwise D fire, right? D fire, okay. So based on that, you have to increment. First you have to see, you have to increment your R count and D count, okay. Based on R count and D count, right, you will check each character R count and D count and will add onto the queue, right? So that's why what we are doing, first when it is coming the first time, right? For when it is coming the first time, like let's suppose we have RD, right? So we are going to add onto the queue, right? We are currently getting from the current is what, R. Here we have R and D, just for example, okay. So what we are doing, we are getting current is R, this one is R, okay, and we are checking this band, right? So if this is not there, so what we are doing, we are checking that value, we are polling, right? So we will again add onto the queue, right? So adding onto the queue, as you can see, means we are removing from here and again we are adding onto the queue. So queue will go to where, on here only, right? He will go to here. So from here we have removed, but from here we will have. So in the first round what will happen, we are doing like this. Okay, so second round it will come like here, right? So it will check this d count. So if d count is not like greater than 0, so he will come to here. So he will increment the you can say r count, as you can see, and what will happen, it will increment this one, right? So each time what will happen for your d count or r count, we have to focus. So when we find d, right, as you can see, when we find d, we are incrementing r count, right? And when we are getting r count, and then we are incrementing d count. So these two techniques you have to remember, right? And if the d is already greater than 0, so we will remove d minus and r minus. If there is r is incremented greater than 0, we will decrement like this, right? So this way you will increment d count and r count, and finally you will have our counts. So you will get your value if r is greater than 0 and d is greater than 0. Like this we have to understand. Okay, now think about, you can say, what is the time complexity, right? To understand the time complexity, as you can see, if number of if there is n number of, what we can say, if there is n number of senate, right, senators. So if there is n number of senators, what will happen then? Total number of time complexity will become O of n, right? Because we are going with all the you can say senators, right? If there is n number of senators, right, into the senators. And for the storing, we are storing into the queue, right? So what will happen, we are storing all into here, in there, right? So space complexity and time complexity both will be become time complexity both is O of n only. Okay, so thank you guys, thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please hit subscribe this channel so that you will get more video like this. Thank you.